What's up, you friggin' geniuses? So in this video, I'm going to give you an introduction into matrices. All right, so matrices are basically just square or rectangular sets of numbers, and you'll normally see them within a couple brackets or parentheses. Okay, so you might see something like this. All right, you'll just have some random numbers, basically, just any numbers, and then you'll normally see them between either two brackets like that, or you might see them between two big sets of parentheses like that, okay? But the brackets are kind of more typical, so that's what I'm going to use for the rest of this video. Okay, now you normally name your matrix using a single capital letter, okay? So you could say something like A is equal to this matrix right here. So if you were referring to matrix A, you would be referring to this matrix right here, okay? And something else important to point out here is that matrices are normally referred to by their dimensions or their size. Okay, so this matrix right here would be a 2 by 2. Okay, the reason being is because it has two rows. Okay, you always list the rows first, so we got two rows, and we also have two columns, right? So that's why we have a 2 right there also. You can kind of even label these. You could kind of think of this as row 1 and this one as row 2, and you could think of this one right here as column 1 and column 2. Okay, and we can look at another matrix to kind of just clear that up. So let me just say we have this matrix right here. Yeah, those are good. Okay, and since this is completely different matrix, we'll call this, let's just call it matrix B. Okay, so this matrix right here, again, is matrix B. Now, if I wanted to know what the size or the dimensions of this were, again, you have to look at the rows first. So here we have two rows, right? And then we have to look at the columns. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, right? So if I was asked what the size or dimensions of this matrix was, I would say it's a 2 by 4, okay? So you always list the rows first, and you always list the columns second. Now, something else I want to point out is every single number within a matrix is sometimes referred to as an element, okay? So each of these are just kind of individual elements. So if you ever want to specify the location of one of these elements, one way you can do that, or a common way that that's done, is by writing it in this form right here. So it would be A and then X, Y. Okay, so this first big letter right here is the matrix you're talking about, but you basically just use the lowercase version of it. And then these two right here represent the row. That would be your row, and that would be your column. Okay, so for example, if I wrote down A12, what number am I talking about right here? Well, again, this is row 1, column 2, right? So row 1, column 2. So we would be talking about the number 9 right here. Okay, so A12 would be equal to 9. Okay, or for example, with matrix B down here, how would I write it for, let's say, this number right here, this spot right here? If I'm talking about this number 3 right here, I would write it as B, and then remember, I list the row first, so it'd be row 2, and then column 4, right? So I'd put 2, 4. So B24 is equal to that spot right there, which there's a number 3. Now, the last thing I want to cover really quick is just a couple different special cases of matrices. Okay, so there's basically like 3 special cases of matrices. So the first one is a square matrix, and that's just when you have the same number of rows as you do columns. Okay, so right here we already said this is a 2 by 2, right? But you can also have something like a 1 by 1, you can have a 3 by 3, 4 by 4, 10 by 10, whatever. Just as long as the rows and the columns are the exact same, that's a square matrix, okay? Now, the other 2 special cases are a row matrix, which would look something like this, okay? So you can see it's basically, it just has a single row, right? We just have one row right here, but we have several columns. So we could have a bunch of columns, it doesn't matter. But the main point is it just has one row, okay? So this is called a row matrix. And the other special case would be something like this, okay? Basically in the opposite direction. And this one, as you could probably imagine, is called a column matrix. Okay, so this one specifically only has one column. It could have a bunch of different rows. You could have 2 rows, 3 rows, whatever, as many rows as you want. But again, the main point is that it just has one single column. So if you found the video helpful, definitely leave a thumbs up down below. And if you have any other questions or want to see any other examples, just let me know in the comment section below. Also, there's a couple playlists attached that I think you'll find helpful, so definitely check those out, and I'll see you there.